We have a caller already, and I think it's just somebody who's trying to wind me up. It's Bruce, and he says Americans didn't land on the moon. First, I thought it was going to be one of these crazy conspiracy theorists, and then the rest of what it says on my call screener. Lots of countries developed technology to get to the moon. No, they didn't, Bruce, you fool. Seriously? Seriously. It was President Kennedy who declared we're going to get to the moon, and we did it. What a bunch of globalist claptrap. Bruce is going to have to wait if he wants to talk to me, because we have another guest in studio, none other than Pastor Dr. Michael Youssef, who comes bearing gifts. We love guests who come bearing gifts. He has his book, Third Jihad, we've already mentioned on the show, and another one. You can never, books are like, you know, guns and dollar bills. You can never have too many, in my opinion. The Hidden Enemy, foreword by Eric Metaxas. Need I say more? If Eric has written a foreword, it is a must-read. We will discuss both of those. He is the founder, the president of Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef, and founder, pastor of the Church of the Apostles. Follow him now on Twitter, Michael A. Youssef, Youssef. Pastor, welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. Wonderful to be with you.
Very, very kind of you to join us. I mentioned it in the first block of the show, and I just want to get your reaction, given that we like to do breaking news.
Sure.
Yesterday, a man who was convicted in a court very close to this studio, who was in prison for being a jihadi, for fighting America as a jihadi, who 2 years ago, wrote a statement and a letter in which he was expressing explicit sympathy for ISIS and congratulating ISIS. I'm talking, of course, of the American Taliban, John Walker Lindh, has been released. Your reaction, your thoughts?
I'm livid. And he also was involved in the killing of a CIA operative.
Right.
It is absolutely, you lived overseas. As you know, I lived overseas first 18 years of my life. And then I lived in Australia for 9 years after that. And so many people over there, they said, are you Americans stupid? Are you stupid when you do things like that? There is no way this guy would have come out alive in another country. And we let him just got out scot-free. Do we love this country or not? I know there are some people, even in Congress, who don't love this country.
Yes, but who've said that, they feel persecuted.
Of course.
People who are elected members of Congress in the most powerful nation of the world who say they're persecuted. That's an interesting definition of persecuted.
And of course, they come from countries where where
there's real persecution, especially of women.
Chop the heads.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
or genital mutilation. You name it.
It is so ludicrous, and it sometimes, as a legal immigrant into this country, I become livid. I love this country, and Reagan was the first one I voted for when I became a citizen. And I'm telling you, I just grieve over the lack of patriotism in America today in general. And what we see, these judges releasing a guy like this who is
unrepentant.
Yes,
unrepentant.
What is good behavior? What does that mean?
It means he wants to get out.
Yeah,
that's what
right.
it means.
Yeah.
That's what it means. Let me ask you the really big picture question. So we've been fighting. Look, I wrote a book on this. I wrote 2 books, Defeating Jihad and my latest book, Why We Fight. My argument, I give a chapter in my latest book to an individual called Stephen Decatur, who is the youngest naval captain in U.S. history. President Jefferson made him captain at the age of 24. Why? Because he led an incredibly daring mission with a small group of undercover Marines off the shores of Tripoli to recapture a U.S. boat that had been taken by the Barbary pirates. My contention is our war with the jihadists didn't begin with the USS Cole, didn't begin in September the 11th, didn't begin with the Beirut bombing in 1982. We have been fighting jihadists almost since the inception of our republic. That's my contention. Let's focus on the last 18 years where as a nation we woke up to it because of the the tragedy, the atrocity that was 9/11.
Yeah.
Michael Youssef, how have we done in the last 18 years of the war with the global jihadi movement?
Not very well, unfortunately and sadly. And you know, I'm going to be very blunt here. Some of my conservative friends who are hearing me, they might not like what I'm going to say, but I don't think we're having a Republican administration for 8 years in between two Democratic administrations really made much of a difference.
No.
In fact,
I agree.
it made it worse.
I agree.
When Condoleezza Rice went to Cairo, the American University of Cairo, and gave a lecture, she was lecturing the president of the country. That's Mubarak. Now, the man, I'm not saying he has his problems, but what began is a ferment on the part of the Muslim Brotherhood. So, America's not supporting the government, so now we can do so. Then Obama goes in, gives his speech at Cairo University.
With the Brotherhood in the front row at the Al-Azhar University. In the front row.
At his insistence, and I know for a fact that Mubarak said to him, said, Mr. President, that's an outlawed group. He said, I don't care. I want them in the front seat.
The progenitor of the modern jihadi movement. This is what people forget.
Yep.
It doesn't matter whether it's Hizb ut-Tahrir, doesn't matter whether it's Al-Qaeda, ISIS, you name it.
Yeah.
All of them refer back to the founding principles of the Brotherhood.
Yep.
Why? Because the Brotherhood was created just 4 years after the dissolution of the original caliphate.
Right.
And what was their goal? Always read the founding documents of the Brotherhood.
That's it.
Re-establish the caliphate.
Yep.
Who did it? ISIS did it. So the idea that this is, just another pro-democracy group.
Now, a prominent scholar in Egypt who is also happen to be a Muslim, he calls the Muslim Brotherhood the womb. It's the womb that birthed Takfir wal Hijra, that birthed Jihad, that birthed all of them, Al-Qaeda and now ISIS. He calls them the womb. That is the womb. The Muslim Brotherhood.
I'm going to use that. In the last minute we have left in this segment, Dr. Youssef, what do we need to do next? What's the next phase of our war? What does the President of the United States need to do now?
I think the President of the United States need to go on an offensive, particularly informational offensive, because people are really ignorant. They're living in total oblivion. And I read the Arabic documents that they write and say to the Islamists who are operating here and in Europe, they said, Americans don't like it when you call them bigots and Islamophobes, so use that to the hilt to our advantage.
And what are we seeing? We're seeing
using it.
Exactly that.
Yep.
This is my contention. That's why I wrote Defeating Jihad. Is the killing terrorists is great. Look, I have no problem with killing terrorists. Yeah. But at the end of the day, this war is won in the battle of ideas.
Absolutely.
We have to destroy the ideology of jihadism. Yep. When people don't want to become jihadis, that's when we start to begin. We start to begin winning. We are talking to Pastor Dr. Michael Youssef, author of The Third Jihad, Overcoming Radical Islam's Plan for the West and the Hidden Enemy, Aggressive Secularism, Radical Islam, and the Fight for Our Future. I'm Sebastian Gorka. This is America First on the Salem Radio Network. More in a moment. Don't touch that dial. Big day for our cousins across the pond. Yes, it is the European elections in the UK with Nigel Farage, a friend of this show, his brand new party, 6 weeks old, surging ahead in the polls with more potential votes than both the Tories and Labour, which is why we have a report from Breitbart, Victoria Friedman, Theresa May, the woman who could not deliver Brexit, the will of the people. 17 million people want Brexit. She may be resigning in a matter of days. Why do I mention this? Why should you care? Because of another report by Alan Bukhari of Breitbart, exclusive. Facebook, quote, hate agents list. We mentioned this yesterday, the list that includes people like Candace Owens. She's a hate agent because she's black, She's female, she's young and a conservative. Facebook's hate agents list includes the candidates for the European election in the UK who are pro-Brexit. This is Big Brother, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why we are here on America First. Back to our guest, Michael A. Youssef. Follow him, Michael A. Youssef, Youssef. He is founder and president of The Leading Way and also author of The Third Jihad and The Hidden Enemy. Michael, this is your area of expertise. What is the most significant, the most dangerous misnomer or misunderstanding that you bump into every day with fellow Americans when it comes to the threat of jihadism? What is least understood that should be understood?
Is that Islam is just a religion of peace. And the Islamist people just want to live in peace and want to have their thing. If they want to have their courts and they want to have their thing, they don't understand that the goal and what they live for is the fulfillment of what they believe to be. And not all Muslims, by the way, as you know, not all Muslims believe that at all, that they have to have a caliphate to dominate the world.
Yeah, a theocracy.
Yeah, and here's the good news. You're talking about the conservatives in Europe. Last Saturday, all the polls have showed that Australia conservative government will lose big time.
Okay. Well, I had on the show yesterday a report. One of the key polling companies in Australia, for 60 straight polls, said that the Conservatives will be crushed.
Finished.
Right.
I happen to know Prime Minister Morris.
Oh.
I lived in Australia. My wife is Australian, so I'm still connected. I have an office in Sydney.
So you know Scott Morrison?
Yes, he was the Minister of Immigration when I met him. But here's the amazing thing. The Islamists in Australia wrote letters out to their constituency and said, vote for the Greens. The Liberals are our best friends. The left wing are our allies. And I've seen it. I have a copy of it in my and sent to all the Muslims in Australia. And I'm telling you, that 7 extra seats they picked up is the most amazing thing, as Morrison himself said. He said, I believe in miracles, and now we pulled another one.
We had a guest from Australia, Miranda Devine, who said it was absolutely joyous because this is a man, she said, I didn't know this about Australian politics. She said it is very unusual, unlike America, for a politician to say, God bless Australia.
That's right.
And in his acceptance speech, he actually said at the end, the re-elected Prime Minister Morrison said, God bless America, God bless Australia. That's big, isn't it, Michael?
He's a very committed Christian.
Yes.
And you know what the Labour Party leader was trying to do? He was to pin him down and says, oh, you know what? Morrison believes that all the gays are going to hell. The man never said a word. But that's how it was truly a God thing, and it was truly the people rose above this foolishness. And I am praying that this would happen at 2020 as well, that people will rise above the stupidity and the foolishness that are going on in Congress right now, and they will know what is good for them, and they vote conservative in every aspect of state, local, and federal.
I hate the phrase, but I'm going to use it. Not only human beings have agency, the big man upstairs has agency as well.
Absolutely.
And I think in 2016, God willing, 2020, but clearly last week in Australia, there was a bit of divine intervention as well. We have been talking to none other than Michael Youssef. Follow him on Twitter, Michael A. Youssef. And right now, not right now, but in the break, go to Amazon, go to Barnes & Noble and order The Third Jihad and also The Hidden Enemy, Aggressive Secularism, Radical Islam, and the Fight for Our Future, with a foreword by none other than my Salem colleague, Eric Metaxas. Thank you, Pastor Michael. I am Sebastian Gorka.